Welcome to Audiobook Soundz, Chasing Greatness, where we don't just talk about success, we reshape the mindset that creates it. Today's audiobook reveals a truth that only a small percentage of people ever discover. A truth that can change the direction of your life every time money enters your hands. Not through luck, not through hype, but through disciplined, intentional actions that the wealthy repeat without fail. Most people never learn how to handle the most important moment in their financial life, the moment they get paid. They react, they spend, they fall into the same patterns. And month after month, they wonder why nothing changes. But the rich, the disciplined, the secure, they treat that moment differently. They see something others overlook. They see power. They see choice. They see the foundation of their future. Today, you are going to learn how the top 1% think when money reaches their account. You will learn the habits they follow, the systems they build, and the decisions that shape their freedom. By the end of this audiobook, you will never look at payday the same way again. You will understand the actions that protect your future, strengthen your life, and separate you from the cycle most people repeat forever. This is not motivation. This is transformation. And once you hear it, you will feel the shift inside you. You will know that wealth is not something you wait for. It is something you build with intention, clarity, and discipline. Welcome to a new beginning. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The moment money arrives. What you do in the first quiet seconds after money enters your life reveals more about your future than your job, your education, or your background ever will. Money shows up like a mirror. It reflects your discipline, your fears, your desires, and the path you have chosen to walk. For most people, payday feels like relief. A brief moment where the pressure of life loosens its grip. The money arrives, and almost instantly, it begins to disappear. Pieces of it fall away into bills, comfort spending, food, small indulgences, forgotten promises, and unplanned purchases. By the end of the week, the account that once looked full now looks thin. And the cycle repeats again and again as if nothing has changed. But the wealthy, the disciplined, the intentional 1%, experience payday differently. To them, payday is not escape. It is not reward. It is a crossroads. A moment of power where the next direction of their life is chosen with clarity, calmness, and intention. They understand something most people never learn. Every time money enters your hands, you are not being paid for the work you did. You are being given the chance to decide who you will become next. The 1% treat income like a seed. Not a seed to eat, not a seed to admire, but a seed to plant. They know every choice with money grows roots. Some choices grow stability. Some choices grow freedom. Some choices grow stress. Some choices grow regret. Most people plant without knowing what they are planting. The wealthy plant with purpose. They choose their direction before their emotions choose for them. To live like the wealthy is not to chase luxury. It is to chase responsibility. When money arrives, you pause not out of hesitation, but out of awareness. You recognize the quiet truth hidden inside every paycheck. Your financial life is shaped not by how much you earn, but by who you become in the moment you receive it. Some people let excitement decide. Some people let fear decide. Some people let old habits decide. The wealthy decide for themselves. The first step the rich take is internal. They build a reason strong enough to guide them through temptation, discomfort, and impatience. A reason that pulls them forward when old habits try to pull them back. Maybe your reason is your family and the desire to break a cycle that has lasted generations. Maybe your reason is your future self who deserves peace instead of panic. Maybe your reason is independence, the long-ignored dream of living life without needing permission. This reason becomes the anchor that holds you steady every time money enters your hands. Without it, you drift back into familiar patterns. With it, you protect your future more fiercely than your impulses. The wealthy know that financial failure is rarely caused by income. It is caused by reacting instead of choosing. So they choose with intention. They pay their future first. Not because they want to deny themselves pleasure, but because they understand that pleasure without stability becomes stress. They do not chase the feeling of having money. They chase the freedom that comes from keeping it, multiplying it, and directing it toward purpose. To pay yourself first is an act of self-respect. It is the declaration that your future matters more than your momentary cravings. This habit is not about amount. It is about identity. Even a small step creates a powerful shift inside you. The moment you consistently save before you spend, you begin to trust yourself. This trust is one of the greatest forms of wealth. Most people break promises to themselves. They say they will save, they say they will change, they say they will invest later. Later becomes never. The wealthy do not wait for later. They decide now. With each payday, they experience something most people never feel: calm. Not because they are rich, but because they are prepared. Chaos loses its power over you when you have control over your decisions. Emergencies lose their ability to break you. The future stops feeling like a threat and begins to feel like something you are shaping with your own hands. This calmness is not accidental. It is earned. It grows each time you choose discipline over impulse. Old habits will try to whisper that you deserve to enjoy your money. And you do. But enjoyment without intention becomes a trap. The wealthy enjoy life from a place of strength, not regret. They know that real peace does not come from spending money. It comes from building something with it. The moment money arrives is the moment your past and your future meet. You can repeat what you have always done, or you can build what you have always wanted. This chapter is not about becoming rich overnight. It is about becoming someone who treats money with purpose, clarity, and direction. Someone who sees income as opportunity. Someone who understands that every payday is a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Change begins in this moment. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Not when your income increases. But right now, with what you already have and who you already are. Your life does not transform through one big decision. It transforms through a series of small, consistent decisions made every time money enters your hands. Each payday is a reminder that you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not defined by your past. You are the builder of your future. And the building begins the moment income touches your account. This is Chapter 1. The beginning of a new identity. The beginning of a new mindset. The beginning of a new financial life shaped not by chance, but by choice. Chapter 2. Building automatic growth with every paycheck. When people talk about financial success, they often describe it as something mysterious, something reserved for those born into privilege or blessed with extraordinary talent. But wealth is not built through mystery. It is built through structure. It is built through choices repeated with quiet discipline. And the most powerful structure of all is the one most people never create. The structure that moves your money for you, even when your energy is low, even when life becomes heavy, even when your motivation fades. This is the secret of the wealthy. They do not depend on willpower, they depend on systems. Systems that grow even when they are tired. Systems that protect their progress from their weaker moments. Systems that make wealth a natural outcome instead of a distant dream. Every time money enters your hands, you are presented with a critical question. Do you want your income to grow you, or do you want it to control you? The answer is found not in how much you earn, but in whether your money follows a plan or your impulses. Most people have intentions but no structure. They say they will save later. They say they will invest later. They say they will get serious eventually. but later never arrives because emotions fill the space where structure should be. Automatic growth steps remove emotion from the decision. They remove hesitation. They remove confusion. You decide once, and then your system does the work. This single step transforms your financial life because it eliminates the greatest obstacle to success: inconsistency. Many people think their financial problem is income. But income is rarely the real issue. The real issue is the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. The real issue is the emotional tug-of-war that happens every time they receive money. One part of them wants to save, the other part wants to enjoy, and the strongest impulse wins. But the wealthy do not negotiate with themselves every payday. They do not rely on mood or motivation. They rely on the system they built. To build automatic growth, you must begin by knowing exactly how much of your income goes toward your future before you allow yourself to touch anything else. The amount does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be consistent. Even a small automatic transfer begins to shift the entire foundation of your life because it trains your mind to value tomorrow as much as today. When the transfer happens automatically, something begins to change inside you. You feel a new sense of order, a new sense of control. A new peace rises because you know your future is being tended to quietly, without effort, without debate, without stress. Every transfer becomes a silent promise you keep to yourself. A promise that your future matters. A promise that your goals matter. A promise that you matter. Automatic steps bring clarity. Without them, everything feels urgent. Everything feels chaotic. You wonder whether you should pay this bill or that expense, whether you should enjoy life now or prepare for later. But when your system moves money automatically, the decision is already made. Your future gets paid first. Then you handle everything else with the calm that comes from knowing your foundation is secure. This clarity creates emotional stability. Financial stress does not come from lack of money alone. It comes from lack of direction. When people do not know where their money is going, they feel lost. When people do not have a plan, they feel overwhelmed. But when automatic growth steps are in place, the confusion fades. You begin to see exactly how your life is progressing, paycheck after paycheck. You see savings rise, even if slowly. You see debt shrink, even if gradually. You see order replacing chaos. This brings peace, a kind of peace that cannot be purchased, only practiced. Automatic steps also protect you from your vulnerable days. Every person has moments when life feels heavy, when stress pushes them toward emotional spending, when they crave comfort more than discipline. Without a system, those moments erase progress. But with a system, you continue to grow even when you feel weak. Imagine a life where progress does not stop when you struggle. This is what automatic growth allows. Over time, this system becomes more than a financial tool. It becomes a part of who you are. You begin to see yourself as someone who builds, someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted with their own life. This identity shift is the beginning of true wealth. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. Your decisions become intentional. Your habits grow stronger. You begin valuing discipline over impulse, planning over panic, foundation over feeling. As your system grows, your confidence grows. You no longer fear the future because you are preparing for it every time you get paid. You no longer feel behind because you see the path forming beneath your feet. You no longer see money as something that slips away faster than you can control. You see it as something you manage with clarity and purpose. Automatic growth is not about becoming wealthy overnight. It is about creating momentum. Momentum that builds on its own. Momentum that pushes you forward even when you take a step back. Momentum that allows you to look at your life months or years from now and say, I built this. I created this stability. I shaped this future with my own hands. This chapter is about creating a life where progress becomes effortless, where discipline becomes automatic, where your system works quietly in the background, building strength while you live your life. With every paycheck, you are given a chance to add another stone to the foundation of your future. Automatic growth ensures you never miss that chance. The wealthy are not lucky. They are structured. They design lives that grow even when they are not looking. And now, you are stepping into that same path. This is what it means to build automatic growth steps with every paycheck. This is how you turn income into transformation. This is how you create a future where your life expands because your system never stops moving you forward. Chapter 3: Directing every new income with intention. When income enters your life, you stand at a silent crossroads. One direction leads you toward the patterns you have always known. The other leads you toward the life you have always imagined. The difference between these two paths is built on a single word: intention. Without intention, money moves on impulse. With intention, money moves on purpose. And purpose is the foundation of every lasting transformation. Most people do not realize how much power lies in the first few minutes after they receive money. The moment income hits their account, emotions begin to rise. Relief, excitement, urgency. The pressure to spend grows quietly in the background. Bills begin to speak. Desires begin to whisper. Old habits begin to return. And before they even notice, the money is already gone. They never stop to think. They never stop to choose. Their past made the decision for them. But those who rise, those who build stability, those who become the architects of their future, treat the arrival of money as a moment of clarity, not chaos. They do not rush. They do not react. They breathe. They look at their life not through the eyes of emotion, but through the eyes of direction. They understand that every paycheck is a tool, and tools only build something meaningful when they are used intentionally. Directing income begins with an honest question: what do you want your life to look like? Not in fantasy, but in reality. Do you want relief from debt? Do you want a safety cushion that gives you peace? Do you want investments that grow quietly in the background? Do you want to break cycles that have lasted generations? Do you want freedom, the kind that allows you to wake up each morning with choice instead of pressure? When you are clear about what you want, your money finally has a purpose. Without clarity, income becomes a reaction. With clarity, income becomes a strategy. The wealthy are intentional because they refuse to let impulse make decisions they must live with later. They know that emotions are temporary, but consequences are not. They know that excitement fades, but discipline remains. They know that the choices made when money arrives shape the next month of their life and eventually shape the next decade. Intention turns income into direction. You begin setting priorities with confidence instead of guessing. You know what comes first, what comes second, and what can wait. This order creates peace. You no longer feel overwhelmed because everything has a place. Confusion fades and clarity takes over. Directing income intentionally also helps you see the difference between needs and wants. Many people blur this line. They tell themselves something is necessary because it provides comfort. But comfort is not always growth. Wants are not bad, but they become dangerous when they steal from a future you have not yet built. Intention helps you pause and ask, does this move me forward or hold me back? This one question can save you years of regret. As you practice directing income, something powerful happens internally. Your confidence begins to grow. You start trusting your decisions. You stop feeling lost. You stop being controlled by the moment. You begin feeling capable of shaping your own direction. That internal confidence is one of the greatest forms of wealth because it changes not just your finances but your identity. A person who directs their income with intention does not feel behind. They feel in motion. They feel connected to their goals. They feel responsible in a way that strengthens them. That sense of responsibility brings maturity, and maturity brings growth. When you direct your income deliberately, you also protect yourself from emotional spending. Emotional spending is one of the greatest enemies of progress. It promises relief but delivers regret. For a moment, it feels good, but the feeling fades quickly, leaving behind stress that lasts far longer. Intention pulls you out of that cycle. It reminds you that temporary comfort can never replace long-term peace. The more you practice intention, the more momentum you create. At first, it may feel small. It may feel like nothing is happening. But over time, these decisions begin to build on each other. Savings slowly rise. Debt slowly falls. Investments begin to grow. Stress begins to fade. You begin to see the evidence of your discipline. This momentum reinforces your identity as someone who builds instead of reacts. Directing income deliberately also opens the door to opportunity. When your finances are not chaotic, your mind becomes clearer. You begin to see possibilities you once overlooked. You start recognizing skills you can develop, paths you can pursue, and opportunities that align with your long-term vision. People who are always overwhelmed never see opportunity because overwhelm blinds them. Intention removes that fog. This chapter is not about restriction. It is not about denying yourself joy. It is about understanding that joy built on foundation lasts longer than joy built on impulse. It is about choosing long-term strength over short-term comfort. It is about shaping a life that grows, not a life that repeats. When you direct new income with intention, your life begins to shift quietly at first, then noticeably, then powerfully. You stop living on autopilot. You stop drifting. You begin steering your life consciously, deliberately, confidently. You start making decisions from a place of strength instead of survival. This is how wealth begins. Not with a dramatic change. Not with a sudden breakthrough. But with a decision made in the quiet moment when money enters your account. A decision to direct it with purpose. A decision to build instead of react. A decision to rise above the patterns that held you back. Every paycheck is a message. It asks you, who are you becoming? And every intentional choice becomes your answer. Chapter 4. Redefining your relationship with spending. Every person has a relationship with spending, even if they have never taken the time to examine it. For some, spending is escape. For others, it is comfort. For many, it is habit, automatic, unconscious, unchallenged. But for the wealthy, spending is something entirely different. It is a choice, not a reflex. A strategy, not a reaction. A tool, not a weakness. Before a person can build wealth, they must understand the truth about their spending. Because spending is the quiet force that shapes your financial life more than income ever will. Most people believe they need to earn more in order to live better, but the truth is simpler. They need to spend with awareness. Money does not disappear because of a lack of income. It disappears because of a lack of intention. To understand your spending is to understand yourself. Every purchase tells a story. Every transaction has a root. You do not spend randomly. You spend emotionally, mentally, and habitually. You spend according to your needs, your insecurities, your patterns, or your impulses. Until you confront the reasons behind your spending, the cycle repeats itself no matter how much money you make. The rich know this truth. They mastered their spending long before they mastered earning. That is why their wealth grows. Wealth is not built by restriction, it is built by awareness. When you are aware of your spending, you no longer feel controlled by it. You begin to choose more consciously. You begin to separate the noise from the necessity. Most people live in a state of emotional spending. They spend when they are tired to feel comfort. They spend when they are stressed to feel relief. They spend when they are bored to feel excitement. They spend when they are sad to feel distraction. Emotion becomes the trigger, and money becomes the bandage. But the bandage does not heal anything. It only hides the wound temporarily. Wealthy individuals understand their emotional triggers. They know when they are vulnerable. They know when they are tempted. They know when old habits try to return. Instead of letting emotion lead, they pause. They breathe. They choose. That pause is the difference between regret and progress. That pause is the beginning of control. Redefining your relationship with spending begins with observation. You must watch yourself the way someone wiser would watch you. Notice how you feel when you spend. Notice what you reach for when you are overwhelmed. Notice the moments when you tell yourself you deserve it, even when it hurts your future. These moments are teachers. They reveal the parts of yourself that need understanding, not judgment. The wealthy treat spending with respect. They do not fear it, but they do not let it rule them. They ask themselves simple, powerful questions before every decision. Do I need this or do I want this right now? Will this choice support my goals or delay them? Am I spending to progress or spending to escape? These questions are not meant to restrict life. They are meant to elevate it. When you begin questioning your spending, something profound happens. You start choosing differently. You start valuing differently. You start seeing the long-term effects of your short-term decisions. You realize that every dollar has the potential to strengthen you or weaken you. Every expense is a vote for the person you want to become or the person you are trying to leave behind. People believe that wealthy individuals never spend. This is untrue. They spend, but they spend with purpose. They spend on things that bring value, not on things that bring temporary relief. They spend on systems, skills, knowledge, growth, and experiences that expand their life instead of shrinking it. They do not buy to impress, they buy to improve. Over time, this intentional approach creates peace. When you know exactly why you spend, money loses its power to control you. You feel lighter because you are no longer carrying the guilt of unnecessary purchases. You feel stronger because your choices reflect discipline instead of impulse. You feel more secure because your financial life is no longer unpredictable. The more intentional your spending becomes, the more room you create for opportunity. Instead of wondering where your money went, you begin directing it with clarity. You see your savings grow as a result of your decisions. You see your investments rise because you made space for them. You see your debt fall because your priorities shifted. You see your future forming because you built the discipline to see clearly. This clarity changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money. You stop believing the story that you are bad at managing finances. You become someone who chooses, someone who decides, someone who has control. This inner shift is what wealthy individuals develop early. Wealth is not the result of money, it is the result of mindset. To redefine your relationship with spending is to redefine your relationship with yourself. It means no longer using money to fill emotional voids. It means no longer escaping life through purchases. It means facing your emotions, your stress, your triggers with honesty instead of avoidance. It means allowing yourself to grow through discomfort instead of buying your way around it. When you reach this level of awareness, spending becomes peaceful. You spend on what matters. You avoid what does not. You find joy in the decisions that strengthen your future. You feel gratitude for the discipline you have built. And slowly, consistently, effortlessly, your life begins to transform. This chapter is not about restriction. It is about liberation. It is about freeing yourself from financial chaos. It is about breaking the cycle of emotional spending. It is about giving yourself a life built on clarity, not confusion. The wealthy did not become wealthy because they avoided spending. They became wealthy because they mastered it. And now, you are stepping into that same mastery. With each intentional choice, you are rewriting your financial story. With each conscious decision, you are becoming someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone unshakable. This is what it means to direct new income with intention. This is what it means to redefine your relationship with spending. Chapter 5. The Quiet Power of Delayed Gratification. There is a truth about wealth that very few people ever learn. A truth so simple, yet so difficult to practice, that it silently separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. That truth is delayed gratification. The ability to wait. The ability to choose long-term strength over short-term comfort. The ability to say not now, so you can say yes to something far greater later. Most people misunderstand delayed gratification. They think it means living a deprived life, denying themselves happiness, or sacrificing everything for an uncertain future. But this is not the meaning. Delayed gratification is not punishment. It is protection. It is choosing not to steal from your future for the sake of a moment. It is honoring your goals enough to resist the impulses that would destroy them. It is looking beyond the emotion of right now and choosing the life you want to live years from now. People who struggle financially often have one thing in common. They live for the moment. They chase feelings instead of foundations. They seek pleasure instead of progress. They tell themselves they deserve it, even when it hurts them. They escape discomfort with purchases that offer temporary relief but long-term regret. Their emotions make the choice, and their bank account pays the price. But the wealthy, the disciplined, the intentional few understand the quiet power in waiting. They understand that every time they delay gratification, they strengthen their future. They strengthen their discipline. They strengthen their identity. They strengthen their ability to create the life they want, instead of settling for the life their impulses allow. Delayed gratification is not about saying no forever. It is about saying yes at the right time, from a place of stability instead of stress. When you wait, you gain clarity. You realize what truly matters and what was just impulse dressed as desire. You begin to separate the temporary from the meaningful. You begin to see how often emotion tries to sabotage your goals. And with this awareness, you become stronger. The wealthy practice delayed gratification because they know that comfort without stability is temporary. They know that spending without foundation leads to anxiety. They know that discipline creates peace, and peace creates space for opportunity. They choose progress over moments because they understand that moments fade, but progress compounds. The act of waiting trains your mind to value the long term. It strengthens your ability to say no to the distractions that derail your journey. It sharpens your focus and forces you to be honest about your priorities. Delayed gratification transforms you from someone controlled by urges into someone guided by vision. It turns impulse into intention. It turns weakness into strength. To practice delayed gratification is to build emotional maturity. It is choosing to feel discomfort now in exchange for a life where discomfort is rare. It is choosing to face your desires instead of letting them control you. It is choosing growth over escape. This maturity becomes the foundation upon which wealth is built. Because wealth is not an event. It is a reflection of behavior repeated again and again. When you delay gratification, you are not just protecting your money. You are shaping your character. You are creating a version of yourself who is worthy of the life you seek. A life of stability, peace, freedom, and choice. A life where you are not constantly recovering from your own decisions. A life where you look back and feel proud, not ashamed. People often ask how the wealthy stay wealthy. It is not luck. It is not a secret trick. It is the discipline to prioritize their future over their impulses. It is the strength to wait when others rush. It is the clarity to see opportunity where others see temptation. It is the patience to let small decisions compound into powerful results. Delayed gratification becomes easier when you begin to see the results. When you notice your savings growing. When you see your debt shrinking. When you feel a sense of stability where chaos used to live. When you realize you are no longer making decisions from desperation. When you begin to feel proud of yourself for staying the course. With each moment you choose to wait, you strengthen a muscle inside you. A muscle that will shape every area of your life. Not just your finances, but your relationships, your health, your habits, your discipline, your entire identity. You become someone who is not controlled by fleeting emotion, but someone grounded in purpose. This chapter is not asking you to live without joy. It is asking you to choose joy that lasts. Joy built on foundation. Joy built on intention. Joy that feels different because it does not come with regret. When you buy something after you prepare your future, it feels clean. It feels earned. It feels right. You have already begun the journey. You are learning to direct your income, manage your habits, and build systems that grow without fail. Now you are learning the most powerful skill of all, the skill of waiting with purpose. A skill that will elevate everything you build from this moment forward. Delayed gratification is the quiet strength of the wealthy. And now, it is becoming the quiet strength within you. Chapter 6. Mastering the Art of Controlled Spending. Most people believe that earning more money is the key to financial peace. They imagine that if their paycheck doubled, their stress would disappear. But the truth is something very different. Income does not create freedom. Control does. The way you manage the money you already have determines the life you will eventually live. There are people earning thousands every month who feel broke, and there are people earning modest incomes who feel secure. What separates these two groups is not luck, not intelligence, and not opportunity. It is control. Controlled spending is one of the most powerful habits of the 1% because it protects everything they are building. Without control, income slips away as fast as it arrives. With control, the smallest paycheck becomes the foundation of wealth. Controlled spending is not about restriction. It is about alignment. It is the practice of making your financial choices match your future, not your impulses. When you master this skill, you stop living on reaction and start living on direction. You no longer ask, "Do I have the money?" You ask, "Does this purchase serve the life I'm building?" This shift alone transforms your financial reality. When money comes into your hands, emotion wakes up. It whispers things like, "You worked hard, you deserve this," or "Everyone else has this, why not you?" Emotion is loud, persistent, and impatient. But wealth is quiet, disciplined, and patient. The 1% does not silence emotion by force. They silence it with intention. They place their long-term vision in front of their short-term impulses, and slowly, their spending becomes a reflection of their goals, not their cravings. Controlled spending begins with clarity. You must know exactly where your money is going, but more importantly, you must know why it is going there. Most people spend without awareness. They buy out of habit, out of boredom, out of stress, out of comparison. They swipe a card without thinking about the effect of that moment. But every financial decision shapes your future. One purchase doesn't ruin you, but repeated careless spending will. And most people live in repeated carelessness without realizing it. The 1% keeps track, not because they are obsessed with numbers, but because they understand consequences. They know that unchecked spending grows silently, like a leak under the floorboards. You don't see the damage until it's too late. Controlled spending becomes your way of sealing the leak before it destroys your foundation. To master controlled spending, you must first accept a simple truth. You cannot grow financially if your spending grows with your income. Most people fall into this trap so easily. When they earn more, they buy more. They stretch their lifestyle, not their discipline. They upgrade their habits before upgrading their mindset. And as income rises, comfort rises with it. Before long, they find themselves living paycheck to paycheck again, even with higher earnings. The problem was never the income. The problem was the lack of control. The 1% avoids lifestyle inflation because they understand the danger of it. They know that meaningful growth comes from consistency, not from constant upgrading. They maintain stability while increasing savings and investments. They celebrate quietly, they elevate slowly, and they prioritize growth over image. Their confidence comes from their progress, not from their purchases. Another core part of controlled spending is the ability to delay gratification. This is where most people struggle. Human beings crave the reward now, not later. But the 1% trains themselves to wait. They understand that the satisfaction of financial freedom is far greater than the momentary pleasure of an impulse purchase. They would rather build stability than chase comfort. They would rather invest in their future than decorate their present. They would rather strengthen their life than impress strangers. Delayed gratification is not about denying yourself happiness. It is about choosing a deeper, longer-lasting happiness over a short, temporary thrill. When you buy something impulsively, the pleasure lasts minutes. When you grow your wealth intentionally, the peace lasts a lifetime. Controlled spending also requires honesty. You must be willing to confront your own financial weaknesses without excuses. Do you shop when you're overwhelmed? Do you spend to feel better? Do you buy things to impress others? Do you lose track of where your money goes? Do you reward yourself too often? These habits are not flaws. They are signals. Signals that you need structure. Signals that you need clarity. Signals that you need control. The 1% pays attention to their signals. They do not ignore their slip-ups. They learn from them. They do not feel shame. They feel responsibility. Responsibility leads to better habits. Better habits lead to stronger results. Another important element of controlled spending is avoiding debt traps. The easiest way to destroy financial growth is by allowing debt to control your life. Many people treat debt casually, but debt is one of the greatest thieves of freedom. It steals your income, your peace, your options, and your future. When you master controlled spending, you begin eliminating unnecessary debt, and more importantly, you stop creating new debt from emotional decisions. You use debt only with intention, not impulse. This alone elevates your financial health dramatically. Controlled spending also teaches you minimalism in spirit, not in possessions. It helps you recognize that you don't need everything you think you need. You don't need every trend, every upgrade, every new item that flashes across your screen. You learn to appreciate what you already have, and in that appreciation, your desire for excess weakens. This is how you break free from the cycle of always wanting more. As your control strengthens, something powerful begins to happen. You start to feel lighter. Financial pressure fades. You stop fearing emergencies. You stop dreading the end of the month. You stop wondering where your money went. Confidence replaces anxiety. Intention replaces confusion. Peace replaces chaos. Your life settles into a rhythm that supports your growth rather than sabotaging it. Controlled spending is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself because it directly influences every other part of your financial journey. When you control your spending, you can save consistently, invest consistently, and build wealth consistently. Without control, every other financial strategy collapses. Your spending reveals your priorities. It shows whether you value comfort or growth, impulse or intention, now or later. But the good news is this: priorities can change. Habits can change. Your entire financial trajectory can change the moment you decide to control your spending with purpose. The 1% doesn't spend less because they are deprived. They spend with intention because they are building something greater. Every purchase they make reflects the life they are committed to creating. When you begin to live this way, you step into that same mindset. You begin shaping a future that is stronger than your past. And slowly, day by day, you transform your relationship with money. Controlled spending is not the end. It is the foundation. It is the skill that allows every other financial decision to succeed. And once you master it, your entire life moves differently. You rise above the patterns that once held you back. You build stability that cannot be shaken. You create freedom that cannot be taken. And you move closer to the life you truly want, one intentional choice at a time. Chapter 7: Building Unbreakable Financial Discipline. Discipline is the quiet force behind every person who rises. It is not dramatic, not glamorous, and not always comfortable. But it is the reason the 1% continues to move forward while others remain stuck in the same patterns year after year. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, even the best financial plans collapse. Most people believe discipline is something you either have or you don't. They think it is a personality trait, something reserved for the highly focused or the naturally driven. But the truth is that discipline is a skill that anyone can learn, a skill that grows stronger with practice, a skill that, once developed, becomes the foundation of financial freedom. Financial discipline begins in the smallest moments. Those quiet, invisible decisions that no one sees. The choice to follow your plan instead of your mood. The choice to protect your future instead of indulging your present. The choice to do what is necessary, not what is easy. These choices may seem small, but they shape everything that comes after. When you build financial discipline, you start taking responsibility for your actions instead of blaming your circumstances. You realize that your situation today is not the result of one big decision, but a collection of small choices repeated over time. The 1% understands this deeply. They know that every decision either strengthens or weakens their foundation. Discipline becomes powerful when you begin honoring your commitments to yourself. Every time you say you'll save and you do, your confidence grows. Every time you say you'll stop unnecessary spending and you follow through, your inner strength rises. Confidence is not built through motivation. It is built through consistency. And consistency is the heart of discipline. Most people break their own financial promises because they rely on motivation. But motivation is temporary. It fades when you're tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. And if you build your financial habits on motivation alone, you will stall every time life becomes difficult. The 1% removes motivation from the equation. They create systems, routines, and habits that operate even on their hardest days. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for the right moment. They move with purpose regardless of how they feel. This is why their progress continues while everyone else stops and starts. Discipline is also the ability to stay committed long enough to see results. Most people give up too early. They save for a few weeks, then stop. They budget for a month, then drift. They invest for a year, then lose interest. They forget that growth takes time, and discipline is what carries you through that time. The 1% understands the long game. They know that financial discipline is not measured in days or weeks. It is measured in years. Wealth grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly at first. But with discipline, the small steps multiply. The seeds you plant begin to take root. And over time, your life begins to transform in ways that once felt impossible. To build unbreakable financial discipline, you must also learn to remove the option of breaking your commitments. When something becomes optional, excuses grow. But when something becomes non-negotiable, discipline strengthens. The 1% treats their financial habits as mandatory, not flexible. Their savings happen automatically. Their investments happen regardless of mood. Their spending rules remain consistent even in tempting moments. This level of discipline frees you from chaos. When your financial habits are structured, your mind becomes clearer. Decisions become easier. Temptations lose their power. Discipline reduces stress because it replaces uncertainty with direction. You always know what to do next, and that clarity brings peace. Discipline also teaches self-respect. Every time you follow through on your financial intentions, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You begin to trust your decisions. You begin to believe in your ability to create a better life. Self-respect is one of the greatest benefits of discipline because it reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money. You begin to see yourself as someone who masters it. Another critical part of discipline is the ability to pause before making financial decisions. Not to delay action, but to create space for clarity. When you pause, you interrupt old patterns. You stop emotional spending before it begins. You take a breath and ask yourself whether the decision aligns with your goals. This simple pause is powerful because it shifts your financial life from reaction to intention. Discipline also includes consistency in learning. The 1% continually educates themselves, not out of fear, but out of curiosity and vision. They read, they study, they ask questions, they experiment. They know that financial growth is not one skill, but a collection of skills. And the more they learn, the more empowered they become. Building discipline does not mean your life becomes restrictive. In fact, discipline creates more freedom than anything else. When you control your habits, you control your outcomes. When your financial life is structured, you gain more choices, more opportunities, and more stability. Discipline does not trap you. It liberates you from the consequences of inconsistency. Another truth about discipline is that it gets easier with time. The first steps are the hardest because you are fighting against years of old patterns. But as you repeat your new habits, they become familiar. Familiar becomes automatic. Automatic becomes effortless. What felt difficult in the beginning becomes normal. And once discipline becomes normal, your life begins to elevate naturally. If you want to build unbreakable financial discipline, start small but stay consistent. Save a small amount regularly. Track your spending honestly. Limit impulsive purchases. Follow your plan even on difficult days. Every small disciplined action is a brick in the foundation of your future. And over time, those bricks build stability, confidence, and freedom. The 1% are not magically disciplined. They simply refuse to abandon their future for momentary comfort. They choose long-term strength over short-term pleasure. They choose progress over excuses. They choose consistency over chaos. These choices shape their destiny. And now you have the chance to do the same. Discipline is not built in a moment. It is built in every moment, every choice, every paycheck, every decision that honors your vision. When you choose discipline, you choose transformation. You choose growth. You choose yourself. Your financial life will rise to the level of your discipline. And once your discipline becomes unbreakable, your future becomes unstoppable. Chapter 8. Transforming your mindset from survival to strategy. Most people live their entire lives in survival mode. They earn money, spend money, stress over money, and repeat the cycle month after month, year after year. They wake up each day reacting to circumstances instead of directing their lives with purpose. Survival mode becomes their default setting, not because they are incapable of more, but because no one ever taught them how to rise beyond it. The 1% understands something that the majority never realizes. Your financial reality does not change until your mindset changes first. The mind is the engine. The money is the fuel. But without the right engine, the fuel burns without direction. This is why many people work hard but never feel like they're truly moving forward. They are driving without a destination, reacting instead of strategizing. Transforming your mindset from survival to strategy begins with awareness. It begins the moment you stop accepting your financial limitations as your identity. Many people say things like, "I'm just not good with money," or "life is hard," or "I'll never get ahead." These words are not harmless. They are scripts that guide your decisions. When the mind believes you are stuck, your actions reflect that belief. You behave like someone with no options, even when options exist. The 1% rewrites the script. They take control of the narrative inside their mind long before the money changes. They understand that wealth begins internally. When you think strategically, you move differently. You make decisions based on long-term growth rather than emotional reactions. You stop asking, "How do I get through the month?" and start asking, "How do I move closer to freedom?" Survival mode is loud and urgent. It pushes you into rushed choices, emotional spending, and short-sighted decisions. Strategy is calm and intentional. It creates space for clarity, planning, and growth. The shift from survival to strategy changes the course of your life because it changes the quality of your decisions. To move out of survival mode, you must first challenge the beliefs you have accepted. Most of your financial habits were shaped by what you saw growing up. You learned from your environment, even when it was unhealthy. If you grew up seeing stress around money, you likely inherited that same stress. If you witnessed impulsive spending, you may repeat that pattern unconsciously. If you were taught that money is scarce, you may still live with a scarcity mindset today. The 1% breaks that cycle by questioning every inherited belief. They ask themselves whether their thoughts support the future they want or the past they experienced. When you begin doing this, something shifts. You start to recognize that many of your financial challenges do not come from lack of money, but from habits shaped by old beliefs. And once you see the pattern, you can break it. Moving from survival to strategy requires you to stop viewing money as something that controls you and start viewing it as something you control. This shift gives you power. Instead of reacting to emergencies, you prepare for them. Instead of hoping for stability, you build systems that create stability. Instead of waiting for luck or a raise, you take ownership of every financial moment. A strategic mindset transforms how you handle problems. When you are in survival mode, financial setbacks feel like disasters. Unexpected bills create panic. Delays feel like failure. But the strategic mindset treats setbacks as information. You ask yourself what caused the problem, what the solution is, and how to prevent it from happening again. This calm approach gives you the ability to adapt rather than collapse. Strategy also teaches you to think long-term. Most people only see the next week or the next month. The 1% sees years ahead. They plan for the future they want, not just the comfort of the moment. They understand that small, consistent steps are more powerful than occasional big efforts. When you adopt this mindset, your entire financial life becomes intentional. One of the most important aspects of a strategic mindset is learning to delay gratification. In survival mode, everything feels urgent. You want relief now, pleasure now, comfort now. But the price of immediate gratification is long-term struggle. The 1% trains themselves to choose long-term strength instead of short-term reward. They sacrifice what feels good today for what will feel extraordinary tomorrow. Moving from survival to strategy also involves shifting your attention from problems to possibilities. People in survival mode constantly think about what they lack. They focus on bills, stress, and deadlines. Their mind becomes a loop of worry, which drains their confidence and energy. Strategic thinkers focus on solutions. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They ask themselves what they can learn, what they can build, what they can improve. This focus on possibilities expands their options and elevates their outcomes. Another powerful element of a strategic mindset is knowing your numbers. Most people avoid looking at their finances because it makes them uncomfortable. They treat their bank account like a dark room they are afraid to enter. But fear grows in the dark. Clarity grows in the light. When you know your numbers, your income, expenses, savings, debts, you gain control. You can make adjustments, create plans, and track progress. The 1% looks at their numbers often because awareness gives them power. Strategy also requires you to evaluate your environment. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the routines you follow all influence your mindset. If you surround yourself with people in survival mode, you will inherit their habits. If you consume content that encourages impulse and distraction, you will lose direction. But if you surround yourself with people who think long-term, who build, who plan, who grow, you will rise with them. As you strengthen your strategic mindset, something remarkable happens. You begin to see money differently. It stops being a source of stress and becomes a tool, a resource, a partner. You stop fearing it and start directing it. You stop wondering where it went and start telling it where to go. You stop living for the moment and start walking toward a future you can be proud of. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens in small shifts, small decisions, small changes in perspective. But each shift moves you further away from survival and closer to strategy. Each decision rewrites a piece of the story you have been living. And eventually, you realize that you are no longer trapped by the past. You are building the future. A strategic mindset is one of the greatest forms of wealth you can ever create. It is the foundation upon which every financial habit grows. Once your mind elevates, your life follows. Survival mode is not your destiny. Strategy is your path forward. And when you fully step into that mindset, your financial life and your whole life begins to evolve into something stronger, clearer, and far more powerful than anything you've experienced before. Chapter 9. Creating a future-focused vision for your money. Every major financial transformation begins with one thing: vision. Before the numbers change, before the habits change, before the income changes, the mind must change. Without vision, even the highest income will disappear into confusion. Without vision, discipline feels like restriction instead of purpose. Without vision, financial progress becomes random, inconsistent, and fragile. But with vision, everything becomes intentional, structured, powerful, directed. Most people never build true wealth because they do not know what they are working toward. They want more money, but they do not know why. They want security, but they have not defined what that looks like. They want freedom, but they have never described the life that freedom would create. Without clarity, the financial journey becomes a guess. And when you guess, you repeat the same patterns every year, hoping things will magically improve. The 1% never operates blindly. Their money has a direction, a purpose, and a future. They do not move out of reaction, they move out of design. A future-focused vision is the blueprint behind every choice they make. It guides their spending, it structures their saving, it shapes their investments, and it keeps them grounded when temptations rise. Vision is what protects their discipline. Vision is what strengthens their patience. Vision is what gives their financial habits meaning. Creating a future-focused vision for your money begins by imagining the life you truly want, not the life you are settling for, not the life others expect from you, but the life that reflects your highest potential. Most people have never allowed themselves to dream financially because dreaming feels dangerous when life has always been difficult. But the 1% dreams first, plans second, and executes third. Their vision becomes the force that pulls them forward. When you design your vision, start by asking yourself simple yet powerful questions. What do you want your life to look like 10 years from now? Where do you want to live? What lifestyle do you want to maintain? What responsibilities do you want to release? What opportunities do you want to create for yourself or your family? What problems do you never want to worry about again? These questions open the door to a future that is bigger than your past. Most people avoid thinking long-term because it makes them uncomfortable. Their current reality feels too heavy, and dreaming feels unrealistic. But vision is not about where you are. It is about where you are going. And every financial breakthrough begins with the courage to imagine something better. When you form a clear financial vision, your habits begin to shift naturally. The moment you can see your future with clarity is the moment you stop sabotaging it. You no longer make decisions out of boredom, stress, or impulse. You make decisions that honor the life you are building. A future-focused vision eliminates confusion because every choice becomes guided by a single question. Does this move me closer to my future or farther away? The 1% uses vision as their filter. They say no to distractions because their future is louder than their impulses. They avoid unnecessary purchases because their purpose is stronger than their cravings. They invest consistently because they understand what they are building. Their vision makes their discipline automatic, because when your dream is clear, your actions become clear. Vision also transforms your emotional relationship with money. People in survival mode feel fear when they think about the future. They worry about emergencies, bills, and uncertainty. But people with a future-focused vision feel empowered when they think about the future. They know where they are going, and even if they are not there yet, they feel the direction. That direction creates calm. It removes panic. It gives every dollar a mission. A powerful financial vision includes both stability and growth. Stability is the foundation, your emergency savings, your buffers, your protection from unexpected events. Growth is the expansion, your investments, your assets, your future income streams. Most people only think about today's problems. The 1% thinks about tomorrow's opportunities. This combination of stability and growth is what creates long-term freedom. Another important part of building a future-focused vision is identifying the life you do not want anymore. Sometimes clarity begins with rejection. You must be honest about the patterns you are ready to break. Maybe you are tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you are done with financial anxiety. Maybe you refuse to repeat the money habits you witnessed growing up. Maybe you want to create a future where your children start life ahead instead of behind. Whatever your reasons are, they must be clear. A strong financial vision has both desire and urgency. Desire gives you the dream. Urgency gives you the responsibility. The 1% understands that nothing changes until they change. And they do not wait for motivation. They move because the future matters. Vision must also be written and visible. When you keep your goals only in your mind, they fade when life becomes stressful. But when you write them, speak them, and revisit them, they become part of your identity. The 1% reviews their vision often, not because they forget it, but because repetition strengthens commitment. A written vision becomes a contract with yourself. Your future-focused vision should include specific milestones. Not vague hopes, but measurable outcomes. How much you want to save. How much debt you want to eliminate. How much you want invested. How much passive income you want to build. When your milestones are clear, your progress becomes inevitable. Because what gets measured grows. Vision also makes sacrifice easier. Most people struggle to say no to unnecessary spending because they do not have a compelling reason to say yes to something greater. But once your vision is clear, the sacrifices stop feeling painful. They feel purposeful. You realize you are not losing anything. You are investing in something better. The final and most powerful part of building a future-focused vision is accepting that you deserve the life you are designing. Many people fail financially not because they lack discipline, but because they secretly believe they do not deserve abundance. They carry a quiet guilt that keeps them small. But wealth requires self-permission. You must allow yourself to rise. You must allow yourself to grow. You must allow yourself to build a life that honors your potential, not your fears. When your vision becomes stronger than your excuses, your transformation begins. When it becomes clearer than your distractions, your discipline strengthens. When it becomes deeper than your old habits, your entire financial life evolves. A future-focused vision is not a fantasy. It is a roadmap, a blueprint, promised to yourself. And once you create it, every financial decision becomes a step forward. Every paycheck becomes a tool. Every sacrifice becomes an investment. Every day becomes part of your journey toward the life you once believed was out of reach. This is how the 1% builds wealth. This is how freedom is created. This is how your new financial identity begins. Chapter 11. How to eliminate financial chaos and take full control of your life.
There comes a point
financial chaos doesn't begin with money.
Where effort
It
alone
begins
is
with
no
disorder.
longer enough.
Disorder
Working
in your
harder has
habits.
limits.
Disorder
Time has
in your
limits.
environment.
Energy
Disorder
has limits.
in your
But
decisions.
systems do not.
And most
A
importantly,
strong financial
disorder
system
in your
keeps
mind.
moving even when
Chaos
life
doesn't
gets
happen
busy,
all at
even
once.
when
It
motivation
accumulates.
fades, even
It
when
builds
stress
quietly
hits,
in
even when you are
unnoticed
not paying
moments.
close
A
attention.
missed bill here.
It becomes the
An
silent
impulsive
engine
purchase
that pushes
there.
your life
A
forward.
habit you meant to
Most
fix but
people
never
rise
returned to.
financially
A
because
promise
they
you
rely
made to yourself
entirely
and
on
broke
willpower.
again.
They
Over
promise
time,
themselves they
these
will
small
be better
cracks
next month,
widen until you
save
feel
more next
overwhelmed,
week, spend
unsure
less
of where
next
your
time.
money goes,
But
unsure of how to get ahead, and unsure of how to take back control. Many people live in this state for years, not because they are careless, but because chaos feels normal when you've lived in it long enough. But the 1% understands something powerful. Your financial life cannot rise above your level of order. Wealth requires structure. Peace requires clarity. Growth requires discipline. If you do not eliminate chaos, chaos will eliminate your progress. Taking control begins with acknowledging one truth. Your financial life is a reflection of every choice you make. Not just the big choices, but the small ones. The daily ones. The invisible ones. When you realize this, you stop seeing money as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something you shape. The first step to eliminating chaos is awareness. You cannot control what you refuse to see. You must bring everything into the light. Your income, your spending, your debts, your habits, your weaknesses. Most people avoid this step because it is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to clarity. You cannot organize a room in the dark, and you cannot organize your financial life by avoiding the truth. Once you face your numbers honestly, chaos loses its power. You begin to identify the leaks, the unnecessary expenses, the emotional purchases, the patterns that steal your progress. The 1% knows their numbers intimately. They do not fear them. They study them. They use them as tools, not threats. The second step is simplifying your financial life. People often complicate money without realizing it. Too many accounts. Too many subscriptions. Too many obligations. Too many distractions. Simplicity creates control. When your finances are simple, you can see clearly. You can track easily. You can correct quickly. Cancel what no longer serves you. Remove what does not add value. Consolidate where possible. Reduce decisions. The fewer moving parts you have, the less chaos can grow. The third step to eliminating chaos is building structure. Structure is the backbone of stability. Without it, your finances will always swing between progress and setbacks. Structure means assigning every dollar a purpose. It means choosing a home for your money before the world chooses for you. It means creating rules you follow consistently, even when life tests you. The 1% has structure for their spending, their saving, their investing, their bills, and their emergencies. They do not leave room for confusion because confusion is where chaos grows. When everything has a place, nothing is lost. When everything has a purpose, nothing is wasted. The fourth step is removing emotional spending. Chaos thrives in moments when your emotions control your decisions. Stress purchases, reward purchases, boredom purchases, comparison purchases. Most financial setbacks begin with a moment of emotion overpowering reason. To eliminate chaos, you must learn to pause. Not to delay your life, but to redirect it. A simple pause gives your logical mind time to speak. It gives your purpose time to reassert itself. Over time, this pause becomes natural. The chaos created by impulse begins to fade, replaced by a sense of strength and self-trust. The fifth step is protecting your energy. Chaos is not just financial, it is mental. The wrong people, the wrong environment, and the wrong influences can drain your progress faster than any bill. If you surround yourself with people who normalize struggle, you will struggle. If you live in spaces that feel disorganized, you will think in disorganized ways. If you absorb content that glorifies consumption, you will mirror it. To take control, you must protect your mental space. Surround yourself with people who think forward, who speak progress, who aim higher. Organize your physical space so your mind feels supported. Consume content that motivates growth rather than triggers comparison. Your environment shapes your destiny. The sixth step is developing your own financial standards. Standards are the lines you refuse to cross, the boundaries you protect, and the expectations you hold for yourself. Most people have no financial standards, so they repeat the same mistakes. But the 1% sets standards and never lowers them. Your standards may include never overdrafting your account, never carrying unnecessary debt, never spending without intention, or never missing a saving or investing contribution. These standards become the guardrails that keep you aligned with your future. The seventh step is replacing chaos with consistency. Consistency is the enemy of chaos. The more consistent your habits become, the less room chaos has to take over. Consistency is not perfection. It is persistence. It is the daily effort that compounds into extraordinary results. When you show up for yourself regularly, your financial life stabilizes naturally. The final step in eliminating chaos is building a mindset of ownership. You must understand that no matter what your financial past looks like, you are responsible for your financial future. Not your job, not your background, not your circumstances. Ownership gives you power. Ownership lifts you out of victim mentality. Ownership turns doubt into determination. When you operate from ownership, everything changes. You stop blaming the world for your situation and start shaping the world you want. You stop hoping for better days and start creating them. You stop reacting and start directing. Taking control of your financial life is not a one-time achievement. It is a daily practice. It is a new identity. It is a commitment to clarity, discipline, and growth. When you eliminate chaos, you create space for wealth, space for opportunity, space for peace. The 1% does not rise because they are special. They rise because they refuse to live in chaos. They rise because they choose order, purpose, vision, and responsibility. And now, you are rising too. By eliminating chaos from your financial life, you reclaim your power. You step into clarity. You step into confidence. You step into a future where your decisions are strong, your habits are stable, and your life is structured for success. This is the beginning of mastery. This is the beginning of control. This is the beginning of your financial evolution. Chapter 12. How to build financial momentum that never stops. Momentum is one of the greatest forces behind every financial transformation. It is stronger than motivation, stronger than discipline alone, and stronger than intention without action. Momentum is the silent power that multiplies your efforts and carries you forward even on days when you don't feel like trying. It is the difference between people who rise steadily and people who keep restarting their lives. The 1% understand this deeply, because once momentum begins working in your favor, your financial life starts to accelerate in ways that feel almost effortless. Most people struggle financially not because they lack potential, but because they break their momentum repeatedly. They save for a month, then stop. They budget for a week, then get overwhelmed. They invest once, then lose focus. They start good habits, then fall back into old ones. They keep restarting, which means they never build the strength that comes from consistency. Momentum is built when small, simple actions are repeated without interruption. It does not require perfection. It requires persistence. A person who saves a little every week will always outperform the person who saves a lot once in a while. A person who invests consistently will always surpass the person who invests occasionally. A person who makes small intentional choices will always grow faster than someone who makes one big heroic effort and then stops. To build financial momentum, you must first understand its nature. Momentum begins slowly. It is quiet, almost invisible. It feels like nothing is changing at first. You save and barely see the difference. You invest and barely notice growth. You track your spending and wonder why it matters. This is the phase where most people quit, because progress seems too small. But the 1% keep going. They know that early momentum is fragile. They know that the first few steps matter the most, not because they bring big results, but because they set the direction of your future. Momentum starts with one commitment: to move forward no matter how small the step. A single financial decision aligned with your goals creates a spark. A repeated decision creates a flame. A disciplined pattern creates a fire. And once that fire begins to burn, it becomes harder to stop your progress than to maintain it. The second key to momentum is consistency. Momentum cannot grow in an environment of chaos. Every time you stop, every time you restart, every time you break your pattern, you force yourself back to the beginning. Consistency is what turns habits into identity. The 1% stay consistent not because their lives are easy, but because they refuse to negotiate with their future. Consistency does not mean perfection. It means that even when life becomes unpredictable, you maintain the core habits that define your financial direction. Maybe you cannot save the full amount this month, but you save something. Maybe you cannot invest as much, but you invest something. Maybe the budget didn't go perfectly, but you track it anyway. The moment you stop entirely is the moment momentum dies. The third key to building momentum is clarity. Momentum thrives when your goals are clear. It weakens when your life is vague. When you know exactly what you're working toward, a specific savings amount, a clear investment target, a debt payoff goal, a lifestyle shift, momentum gains strength. Every decision becomes easier. Every sacrifice feels meaningful. Every step feels connected to a bigger purpose. The 1% always know where they're going. They don't wander financially. They move with direction. The fourth key to momentum is simplicity. Complex plans fail because they are difficult to sustain. Simple systems succeed because they are easy to repeat. Simplicity might mean using one investment strategy instead of 10. It might mean having a basic budget instead of an overwhelming one. It might mean automating your money instead of trying to manage every detail manually. When your financial life is simple, momentum grows naturally. When it is complicated, momentum collapses. The fifth key to momentum is emotional control. Many people destroy their progress because of emotional spending, buying things out of stress, boredom, sadness, or even celebration. The 1% protect their momentum by mastering their emotions around money. They recognize triggers. They pause before reacting. They choose the long-term benefit over the short-term feeling. Emotional control is not about denying yourself pleasure. It is about refusing to sabotage your future for temporary relief. The sixth key to momentum is environment. Your environment shapes your habits more than your intentions do. If you surround yourself with people who waste money, you will follow their patterns. If you consume content that encourages distraction, you will feel pressure to keep up. If your physical space is disorganized, your financial life will feel the same. Momentum grows faster in environments that support discipline and clarity. The 1% choose environments that reflect the future they want, not the past they came from. The seventh key to momentum is celebrating progress. Momentum strengthens when you acknowledge how far you've come. Most people ignore their wins and only focus on their shortcomings. They downplay their progress, which weakens their motivation. But the 1% take time to appreciate each step. Every small improvement is fuel. Every milestone is proof. Every accomplishment builds confidence. Acknowledging your progress makes momentum feel real, and that feeling drives even more progress. The eighth key to momentum is patience. True momentum takes time. It grows quietly before it grows powerfully. People who lack patience sabotage themselves by jumping from one idea to another, one plan to another, one strategy to another. They never give momentum the time it needs to multiply. But the 1% trust the process. They know that slow growth is still growth. They know that steady progress becomes explosive progress when repeated long enough. Patience is the soil where momentum takes root. Finally, the most important key to building unstoppable momentum is identity. Momentum becomes permanent when it becomes part of who you are, not just something you do. When saving becomes part of your identity, you save automatically. When investing becomes part of your identity, you invest without hesitation. When discipline becomes part of your identity, you no longer have to force yourself. It becomes natural. You are no longer someone trying to get better with money. You become the kind of person who is good with money. You are no longer someone trying to become disciplined. You become disciplined. You are no longer someone trying to build wealth. You become a builder. And when your identity shifts, momentum becomes unstoppable. Financial momentum is not luck. It is not magic. It is not reserved for the elite. It is built through intention, consistency, clarity, simplicity, patience, and a deep commitment to becoming the person your future requires. Once momentum is on your side, your life begins rising almost automatically. Opportunities appear. Habits strengthen. Stress decreases. Progress accelerates. Momentum is your greatest financial ally. Protect it. Build it. Strengthen it. And once it begins, never let it stop. Chapter 13. How to stop losing money through emotional decisions. There is a pattern that silently destroys more financial progress than low income, bad luck, or unexpected emergencies. It is the habit of making emotional decisions with money. People think money problems come from numbers, but in reality, they come from feelings that were never brought under control. Fear, excitement, stress, frustration, impulse. These emotions drain wallets faster than any bill. And until you master them, you will always feel like your money slips through your hands no matter how hard you work. The 1% know something most people never learn. Your emotions decide your financial future long before your income does. Every time you get paid, you stand between two forces. Logic whispers the truth about your goals, responsibilities, and long-term plans. Emotion pushes you toward comfort, reward, escape, or impulse. And what you choose in that moment determines whether your life moves forward or stays trapped in the same cycle. People often think they have a money problem when what they really have is an emotional spending problem. They spend when they are stressed. They spend when they are bored. They spend when they are tired. They spend to feel better, to avoid thinking, or to impress others. And each time they do, they trade long-term growth for short-term relief. They trade opportunity for a feeling that fades in seconds. The truth is simple. If emotion controls your money, you will work for years and still feel stuck. If logic controls your money, you will rise, slowly, steadily, and securely. To stop losing money through emotional decisions, the first step is awareness. You must learn to catch yourself in the moment before the impulse wins. When you want to buy something, pause and ask, why do I want this right now? If the answer is because you are tired, stressed, angry, or bored, the purchase has nothing to do with the item. It is your emotion looking for comfort. And comfort purchased emotionally is always expensive, even if the item is cheap. The 1% remove emotion from their financial decisions by creating rules they follow every time. Not sometimes. Not when they feel motivated. Every time. These rules protect them from themselves. They protect their goals from impulses. They protect their life from unnecessary setbacks. One powerful rule is delaying emotional purchases. When you want something, you wait 24 hours, 48 hours, or even a week depending on the size. If you still want it later, it may be a genuine desire. If not, you realize you almost spent money to treat a temporary feeling. Another strategy is to separate your spending money from your financial growth money. When all your money sits in one place, emotions take over easily. But when your savings, investments, and bills are automated into separate accounts, you create a barrier that forces you to think before acting. You make emotional spending harder and intentional spending easier. Emotional decisions fade when structure takes over. You also stop losing money emotionally by identifying your triggers. Everyone has them. For some, it is stress. For others, it is loneliness, boredom, pressure from friends, or the need to feel rewarded. When you understand what triggers you, you can prepare for those moments instead of falling into them. You create strategies that protect your wallet from your weaker moods. The 1% understand that moods come and go, but money lost emotionally does not return easily. They know that emotional spending creates guilt. Guilt creates avoidance. Avoidance creates financial confusion. And confusion destroys progress. To stop losing money emotionally, you must build a mindset of delayed gratification. This is the ability to choose long-term prosperity over immediate comfort. It is the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck. The moment you learn to sit with discomfort without spending to escape it, you become powerful. You begin to control your life instead of reacting to it. Financial clarity also helps defeat emotional choices. When you know exactly where your money should go, how much you plan to save, how much you invest, and what your responsibilities are, your decisions become easier. Emotion thrives in confusion. Logic thrives in clarity. The more clear your plan, the harder it is for your emotions to sabotage it. You also stop emotional spending by creating alternative outlets for stress. When money becomes your coping mechanism, you will always be broke, no matter how much you earn. Breathe. Journal. Meditate. Learn. Exercise. Build something. Do anything that releases stress in a way that strengthens your life instead of draining it. Once you develop emotional control, you start to notice something powerful. Money begins to stay with you. You feel calmer. You feel more secure. Bills don't shake you. Emergencies don't break you. Opportunities don't scare you. You make decisions with logic rather than panic, with purpose rather than impulse. When emotion no longer runs your financial life, your identity changes. You begin to feel capable. You begin to feel powerful. You trust yourself, and with that trust comes confidence. Confidence attracts better opportunities, stronger habits, and a future you can stand on. This chapter is not about becoming perfect. No one is. Even the most disciplined people feel temptation. The difference is that they do not let temptation become a decision. They feel the emotion, acknowledge it, and act with intention instead of reacting with impulse. The financially strong person is not someone who never feels emotional. It is someone who never lets emotion take control. You have more power than you think. Every time you resist emotional spending, you build strength. Every time you follow your plan instead of your mood, you build discipline. Every time you choose long-term peace over temporary pleasure, you build the future you deserve. That future begins the moment you decide that emotion will no longer control your money. You are stronger than your impulses. You are wiser than your old habits. You are capable of building a financial life that grows with stability, confidence, and intention. And once you master emotional decisions, your money will finally begin working for you instead of disappearing without reason. Chapter 14. How to turn small money into large opportunities. Most people believe wealth is created by big money. They assume financial growth only begins when income is high, when circumstances change, or when a miracle finally happens. But the truth is far more accessible, far more empowering, and far more surprising. Large opportunities almost always grow from small amounts of money that were treated with respect, intention, and discipline long before the big opportunities appeared. Wealth grows from seeds, not storms. From decisions, not luck. From consistency, not windfalls. The 1% know this. They understand that small money is not insignificant. It is the training ground for financial mastery. It is the beginning of stability. It is the spark that can eventually turn into something life-changing. They know that if you mishandle small money, you will mishandle large money. Because money amplifies habits, it does not erase them. The average person waits for more. The 1% begins with what they have. Most people overlook small amounts because they cannot see the long-term picture. They think a few dollars won't matter. They think saving $5, $10, or $20 is too little to make a difference. They assume investing small amounts is pointless because the growth looks slow at first. What they don't realize is that every great financial transformation starts exactly this way, quietly, slowly, invisibly. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is simple. The 1% never ignore small beginnings. They understand that small amounts build habits, and habits build wealth. They understand that small amounts grow through compounding, and compounding rewards patience. They understand that small amounts bring clarity, and clarity brings direction. Once direction exists, opportunity begins to appear. When you turn small money into large opportunities, you start with awareness. You begin noticing where your money leaks away, tiny expenses that feel harmless but slowly drain your future. A snack here, a quick impulse purchase there, small subscriptions stacked on top of each other. These may seem insignificant, but added together over weeks and months, they form a silent thief. You cannot grow what you consistently throw away. The 1% see small money differently. They see possibility where others see nothing. They see potential where others see pennies. Small money, when directed intentionally, becomes a foundation. It becomes savings for emergencies, investments for the future, or seed money for a business. Even $5 a day, when used consistently, becomes thousands over time. The growth may start slow, but slow progress is still progress, and eventually it becomes unstoppable. Small money also builds discipline. When you set aside a tiny portion of every paycheck, you prove something powerful to yourself. You can follow through. You can stick to a plan. You can keep a promise to your future. This consistency becomes the core of your financial identity. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Turning small money into opportunities also means training your mind to recognize value instead of price. Most people buy cheap things that cost them more over time. The 1% invest in things that produce value, things that last, things that grow, things that create returns. They think long-term even when the amount is small. That mindset alone separates them from the masses. When you direct small money into purposeful action, you begin creating what the 1% call micromomentum. This momentum is subtle but powerful. Each time you save, each time you invest, each time you choose discipline over impulse, you add weight to your future. You are moving forward inch by inch, and over time, those inches turn into miles. The transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through repetition, through patience, through honoring your plan even when it feels slow. This is where most people give up, in the quiet stage before results appear. But the 1% stay consistent. They understand that growth is invisible until it is undeniable. Small money can also create opportunities through learning. When you use small amounts to experiment, buying a book, taking a course, testing a simple investment, you expose yourself to knowledge that can multiply your income. Small money spent wisely can create skills that produce large money later. Many people think opportunity appears randomly. But the truth is, opportunity appears most often to disciplined people who have prepared themselves with small, consistent actions. Opportunity doesn't knock on the door of someone who waits. It knocks on the door of someone who builds. Turning small money into large opportunities also requires patience. This is one of the hardest skills to develop because the world teaches impatience. Social media shows quick success. Society praises instant gratification. But real financial growth does not move on a fast timeline. It grows quietly, compounding slowly, becoming stronger each month. Those who master patience eventually rise above those who chase quick results. Another powerful part of this process is identity. When you handle small money wisely, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone who is struggling. You begin identifying as someone who is building. That identity shift changes everything. It affects your spending decisions. It affects your habits. It affects your opportunities. People start treating you differently. You start treating yourself differently. And the universe begins responding to your direction. Small money, handled with intelligence, builds confidence. Confidence leads to clarity. Clarity leads to action. Action leads to opportunity. And opportunity leads to transformation. Eventually, something interesting begins to happen. As your habits strengthen, small opportunities start turning into larger ones. You may discover better ways to invest. You may find yourself with enough savings to pursue a new idea. You may attract better income opportunities simply because you now operate with discipline and stability. That is not luck. That is the natural progression of a person who respects their money, even when their money is small. This chapter is not about the amount you have today. It is about the future you can build with consistency. The 1% were not always wealthy. Many of them began with far less than you have right now. What made them rise was their willingness to treat every dollar as a tool, every paycheck as an opportunity, and every small decision as a vote for their future self. You may feel like what you have is not enough, but that is exactly where every great financial story begins. Not with abundance, but with intention. Not with wealth, but with discipline. Not with opportunity, but with small money used wisely. When you learn to treat small money with respect, you prepare yourself for the day when large money arrives. And when it does, you will be ready. You will know how to grow it, protect it, direct it, and multiply it. Small money is not insignificant. Small money is the spark that lights the fire. Turn it into opportunity. Turn it into progress. Turn it into the life you want. Chapter 15. Protecting your future and becoming the 1%. There comes a moment in every financial journey when the question shifts from, how do I make progress? To, how do I protect the progress I've made? Growth means nothing if it is not protected. Wealth means nothing if it is not sustained. And stability means nothing if it can be shaken by distraction, emotion, or old habits. The 1% understand that protecting your future is just as important as building it. They know that without protection, progress leaks away quietly. Not through one big mistake, but through small, unnoticed decisions repeated over time. They know that the future is built on intention, and the past tries every day to pull you backward. This final chapter is about creating a life where your progress is secure, where your momentum is unstoppable, where your financial habits are stronger than your temptations, where your identity grows beyond who you were and becomes who you were meant to be. To protect your future, the first step is to guard your environment. Money grows in places where discipline is supported, not weakened. You cannot build a strong financial life around people who spend recklessly, complain constantly, or live with no plan. Their habits will pull you back into patterns you fought hard to escape. Protect your space. Protect your mind. Protect your circle. Your environment should elevate you, not drain you. The next step is to protect your habits. Habits are fragile in the beginning. They require consistency to become part of you. Every time you follow your plan, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you act with intention, you strengthen your identity. And every time you prioritize your future over temporary pleasure, you strengthen your foundation. Protecting your future is also about protecting your time. Time is the most valuable resource you have because once it is gone, it cannot be recovered. The 1% treat time like currency. They invest it wisely, spend it intentionally, and refuse to waste it on distractions that add nothing to their life. They understand that time wasted is opportunity lost, and opportunity lost is progress delayed. Another critical part of protecting your future is emotional stability. Financial strength collapses quickly when emotions take control. Fear tells you to stop. Excitement tells you to spend. Stress tells you to seek comfort. Impulse tells you to chase quick results. To protect your future, you must learn to separate emotion from action. Feel what you feel, but choose based on logic. The stronger your emotional discipline, the stronger your financial foundation. The 1% also protect their future by planning ahead. They do not live month to month, reacting to whatever comes. They anticipate. They prepare. They build buffers between themselves and uncertainty. This preparation turns chaos into manageable challenges. It turns emergencies into temporary setbacks instead of disasters. Planning is not about perfection, it is about protection. To protect your future, you must also protect your mindset. Your mindset is the engine behind your actions. If your mindset is weak, your habits will crumble under pressure. If your mindset is strong, nothing can break your progress. You must feed your mind intentional thoughts, growth thoughts, abundance thoughts, thoughts that push you forward rather than hold you back. Your mindset is the shield that protects you from the doubt you may feel, the discouragement you may face, and the setbacks that inevitably appear. A strong mindset does not prevent challenges, it helps you rise above them. Protecting your future also means protecting your identity. You can change your habits, your income, your lifestyle, but if you do not change who you believe you are, your old life will eventually return. The 1% see themselves as disciplined, capable, responsible, and worthy of growth. That identity guides every choice they make. When you know who you are, you do not sabotage your own progress. Your identity becomes your guardian. And finally, protecting your future means protecting your vision. Your vision is the map for your journey. It shows you where you are going and keeps you aligned with what matters. Without vision, even progress feels meaningless. But with vision, even small steps feel powerful. Your vision is your promise to yourself. A promise that says you will no longer live by chance. You will live by design. You will no longer repeat the same cycles. You will rise above them. You will no longer let life push you around. You will take control of your story. In this final chapter, understand this truth. You are not becoming the 1% because of luck, income, or perfect circumstances. You are becoming the 1% because of who you are choosing to become every day. The 1% are not defined by what they have. They are defined by how they think, how they act, how they commit, how they protect their future. You have done what many never do. You have looked at your financial life with honesty. You have taken responsibility for your patterns. You have studied your habits, your triggers, your weaknesses, and your potential. That alone separates you from the majority. And now, you stand at the point where your old life ends and your new future begins. Protect your progress. Protect your growth. Protect your vision. Protect your future with everything you have. Your life will not change in one day, but it will change because of what you do every day. And if this audiobook has guided you, inspired you, or sparked something inside you, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment to join this journey of growth with Audiobook Soundz, Chasing Greatness. Your support helps this channel reach more people who are ready to transform their life, just like you. Congratulations for coming this far. Your new beginning starts now. You've reached the end of this journey, but your transformation is only beginning. You now carry the tools, the clarity, and the mindset that the top 1% used to build their lives with intention. These chapters were not just words, they were a blueprint. A reminder that every decision you make shapes your future. A reminder that wealth is not something you stumble into. It is something you build with discipline, vision, and courage. You are no longer someone who reacts to life. You are someone who designs it. You are no longer controlled by old habits. You are someone who creates new ones. You are no longer hoping for change. You are creating it every single day. This journey has proven something powerful about you. You are capable of more than you ever realized. Carry this mindset into your next decision. Carry it into your next paycheck. Carry it into the moments when life tries to pull you back. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a step toward the life you deserve. And if this audiobook has spoken to you, if it opened your eyes, challenged your thinking, or lit a fire inside you, then join this movement. Support this mission. Help this community grow. Subscribe to Audiobook Soundz, Chasing Greatness. Like the video, comment your thoughts, and share it with someone who needs this message. Your engagement helps this channel continue creating powerful content that inspires growth, discipline, and transformation. Remember this truth as you walk forward. Your past does not decide your future, your discipline does. Your income does not define your destiny, your decisions do. And your future begins the moment you choose to rise. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing growth. Thank you for chasing greatness. Your new chapter begins now. Go build the life you were meant to live.